It's all about accuracy, not precision.
All right, thank you all for joining us. A little bit of a quiet weather week. It looks like rain might be here just in time for some festivities this weekend. We have Charles Ross, he's a hydrologist with the National Weather Service.
All right, thank you. All right, since the weather is quite boring, I'm going to talk a little bit about my last week, which has been pretty eventful. I was able to go down to Columbia and work at the Weather Service office there last weekend. They needed a body, and I was able to, they picked me and took off, and after a few flight delays and cancellations, I got there Saturday evening and spent Saturday evening working there all day Sunday and Monday, and it was happening 48, 72 hours for weather, and being in that office was it was really sad to see what's going on because you know, when you're working in a weather service office or any place where there's actually a natural disaster going on in your backyard, it's affecting people that you're working with. One of the technicians there, his house flooded and his cars flooded, and everybody that was working there was directly impacted by the event. So it was an impressive couple days, and it was neat to have been through it. So I'm going to talk about it real quick, and then we'll get into the forecast. As most of you know, I hope, it was an unprecedented flooding event for the region. It really keyed in on South Carolina, and it had really tight gradients between heavy rain and really very little rain. So the South Carolina area is not really known for a huge flood history. I mean, they've had some big floods over time, but most of the last big flood there was maybe one in 1990 and late 60s and beyond that. So it had been a long time since the area had seen flooding like that. At Lake Murray, which is a dam that was built upstream of Columbia to hold water in the 60s, I believe, or maybe before the 60s, but they put in gates in 1969, and that was the last time they had actually opened them and tested them. So that's how long it had been for some of these gates. They'd never been used in real time, so it was an interesting experience to be there. Unfortunately, the city of Columbia was hard hit. There is Rich has already, I'll show this, he's already worked up his case study, and if you have ever get a chance to go to his page, you know, it's well worth your time, because just about every weather event that is significant has been documented there over the years that we can think of. So let's see if it's going to take me there or not. Is that working? Let's see. Well, let's see. I'll try it again here. No, I'll just cut and paste it. Let's see. There we go. Thank you. So here it is. If you get a chance, if you want to learn more about the event, it's here. A lot of information in here worth reading. He's got good tables of rainfall and some maps, and certainly an analysis of how the models did. So take your time and peruse that if you can. And then I want to spend a second real quick just showing you a couple things. The first map, well, let's back up. When I was flying in, I shot this picture. And I'm not a cloud physicist, and certainly it's been a long time since I took atmospheric physics here at Penn State. I think probably 1990 or 91 or something. So, but what I noticed, this was my flight between Charlotte and Columbia, was as we flew closer to Columbia. These clouds, this deck, I'm guessing we were probably somewhere about 15,000 feet of elevation. We didn't get very high. It's a puddle jumper kind of flight, but you would see a lot of precipitation falling out of this mid deck right into the low deck, and you didn't see a lot of the deck at the low levels wasn't particularly high at this point. Now this is probably about 4 hours before the heavy rain really came in, but it was I'm not sure if we had like a cedar feeder or what sort of mechanism going on, but if anybody has any thing they'd like to talk about, I'd be interested to know, because it was the visibility at times would go way down as we would enter these shafts of, I don't know if it's with ice crystals or rain, or it's probably pretty high freezing levels, obviously, but that was something I observed. If anybody has anything to speak up, if not, you can talk later. Something that is worth looking at is these, we call them annual return or average return intervals. They're also called annual exceedance probabilities. This is a 24-hour rainfall, and this shows you what the return interval was for precipitation based on NOAA 14 Atlas data. and you'll see, again, it started along the coast in the Charleston area. Both Charleston and Columbia were in the line of the heaviest rain. Most of the intense rain fell just to the east of Columbia, but it was still in the area. We're talking, according to these, rainfall return periods of, upwards of 500 to 1,000 years, and I know that's hard to compute when you only have 100 years or less of data, but these are off-the-chart return intervals. And here's another one for the 72-hour. When you see return intervals like this, your situational awareness should definitely be saying, hey, there's something going on here that is beyond the average rainfall event. And to show you that in real time, you can actually use this. There's a site, it's called flash.ou.edu, and I'll spend a minute here working through this. If you go to this site, and let's hone in on South Carolina here. And, let me do a better job here. The user interface is still a little. Let's try this again. So we're going to zoom back in. Holly, let's try this again. Maybe I can get close enough. All right, well, let's see. I'll try this one more time. What I'm seeing on my screen and what's happening on this is different. There we go. Close enough. Okay, so let's go back to the 4th around 12Z. That's Sunday morning at 12Z. If you're working in an operational office around daybreak on the 4th, which is Sunday morning, let's go to 12Z. You can set, again, with this page, go on and play around with it. You can set the parameters. But if we want to switch here to, let's go and look at the 6-hour return periods for rainfall. And then if you submit, refresh your data here, you will see right here that we are seeing, this is in real time, the return periods here, looking at the scale, are upwards of over a lot of purple, which is, the top of the scale here is 200 years, so it's a little more reasonable, but we're seeing a large area of 200-year events, of return intervals, and then if you go to 12 hours, and hit submit, refresh, you'll see even more impressive rainfall totals. And again, that was reflected on the map I showed you that was done, after the event ended. But if you're in real time, these are produced some 5-10 minutes after, or about every 5 or 10 minutes lag. So you can use this. We're starting to use this at our office for flash flood prediction to help us, in another source besides just flash flood guidance. We hope to have this in our AWIPS system so that we can actually use it on our AWIPS by the spring. So something to look into. There's a lot more on this webpage than I've had time to show you, but really cool information for monitoring heavy rainfall.
Questions?
Yeah.
Can this be used with forecast model data in addition to real time?
I'm going to show you. The answer is, thank Rich Grum for that, but the answer is yes. We're going to go look. There's one place today that has yeah, I mean, we have the data set, and we need to work with you guys here to keep figuring out how to use it. So, great question, because you're leading in to where we're going here. So that's South Carolina. If anybody has questions on it, we can talk here in a little bit. I guess we want to talk a little bit about the forecast here. It's not too exciting. Average high this time of year, I think it's 62.42, but roughly 60.40 right now. We should start seeing in the next week or two, an average night should be topping out in the upper 30s as we continue to drop our temperatures at night, and our high should be settling into the 50s here in the next week or two. So things are becoming more fall-like out there every day, even though it hasn't really felt like that much this year. Let's go look at a couple websites and see what's going on. I think I have it here. So IR today, this is our rainfall that we're going to see skirt through the area tomorrow. Out ahead of it, we're seeing a few showers that are popping up. And the HRSS says there'll be a couple that pop up across northwest Pennsylvania later today, closer to sunset. Not a big deal. This is really a pretty weak front by front definitions as far as rainfall goes. It doesn't look like there's a lot with it. It will change air masses, though. We'll have the good thing is it looks like it's going to move fast enough to get out of here in time for a really nice weekend and maybe even a dry football game. Which is nice. Notice this thing spinning out here over New Mexico and the desert, almost the desert southwest. This is an area to watch for some heavy rainfall today, and I'll show you on Rich's output here So let's see. Well, first I'll go to Rich's stuff, and this is a page that he's been working on, and I've kind of said good job to him as he's been doing it. And let's go to the U.S. scale. If you go on this webpage, it's you need the link. I can give it to you when we're done. You'll see on the U.S. scale there's a QPF threat, and if you view images, this is the first image you'll get is just kind of a background image of what the return periods are. But this is 6-hour return periods here. But here we go hourly, and there isn't much to see except for down here. You'll see again we can't zoom in. I don't think I can zoom in on. Oh, good question. Do you have a west? Let's try west. See if we can hone in on it. No, I don't think we can do it. So let's. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. This wasn't an ideal place to look today, given.
Apparently, I didn't do it.
A plains? Oh, well. I mean, who's looking in West Texas, really? So it's okay, Rich. You should have had more time to do it. Yeah. Well.
I get the area actually.
Yeah. All right. Now, can I scroll? I don't know. Can we see it or not? Let's see. Whoops. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, there's a little bit. You can see it. So there we are. So we're looking at some return periods this afternoon, 6-hour returns by 5Z. So between 0, the end of the day, into the early evening hours, we're looking at some 50-year return periods down there.
That's 75% of the 100-year.
Thank you. 75% of the 100-year. So we're seeing.
50 still getting flooding.
Yeah. So it's pretty significant. Whoops. Pretty impressive rains down here today. They'll have to be.
Does the GFS show it 24 hours?
Let's go look. So if we go to the GFS, and I need to go back to US, and again, it's called QPF 24 threat. And let's see.
You can zoom up and use the arrows.
Yeah. There, let's go. Yeah, I'm not seeing it so much on the GF. Actually, seeing something up here in the northwest though.
Yeah.
But I don't.
It doesn't even. It's very convective.
So yeah, it's convective, and the HER has some rainfall total. So if you're a forecaster down there in Texas, that's the kind of information that that you can get off these return interval data. You can start looking for outliers or extreme rainfall events, which is pretty cool. So looking at our forecast for the time being here, let's just look at the HER for the next 12 hours, or about 12 hours. We'll see. You can actually see the model on the HER is forecasting this front. This is certainly not too exciting, but it should bring some rain to us later. By the end of the temporal scale of the HER, you can see, I don't know if these are actually going to hit the ground here in Pennsylvania, but things, at least we're going to start seeing some increase in clouds as this frontal boundary moves our way. This is through about 6Z, so this is roughly 2 a.m. here. You'll see the front's on its way. Let's go look at, just take a quick look at the 6Z GFS and see what we can glean out of it, and then we'll call it a day here. So if you're looking at the rainfall with this, let's go back here to the beginning. This is the 6-hour rainfall, 0.05 of an inch. You'll see it, by 12 to 18 Z tomorrow. It's certainly going to be wet across northwest PA. You can kind of get an idea where the boundary is coming, and it quickly moves through Pennsylvania. Again, pretty low chances of even seeing 500s in some spots. So it's not going to be particularly wet. The HER's the SREF's a little wetter than this, but it goes through pretty fast. And the good news is, if you're looking 0 to 6 Z's, well, that's 8. Too bad 0 Z is not at 6 p.m. But it appears pretty good. There's a pretty good chance based on the 60 Jeffs that we're going to be okay for everything going on in State College tomorrow evening, which is a lot of outdoor activities. I know 3 things that I could be at once. There's a good high school football game. There's the homecoming parade, and my kids' fall baseball game at Montressor. So, which I wouldn't miss for anything. You guys, just kidding. If you like to see a lot of wild pitches, and but in any case, yeah. So, yeah, it looks maybe there's some hope that things are going to be all right tomorrow evening based on the 60 Jeffs. You could go look at the SREF, and I don't have the SREF on here, but let's just look at the plume for the SREF. It's close enough. Look at the State College plume. You'll see most of them are centered at rainfall between 12 and 0 Z. There's appears to be 2 camps. There's one camp that has the the SRF models that are bringing it in closer to lunchtime. There's one that's a little closer, and it probably could still be raining by the early evening hours. By 0Z, though, most of the SRF members also say things are done. So by 8 o'clock, things are going to be winding down. But in any case, we're looking at an average range of 0.01 to 0.25 with a mean right in the middle at 0.12. And pretty quiet weather pattern for the most part. Yeah. So temperatures. That's the next thing. What are our temperatures doing over the next couple of days? Again, really nice out there today. If you get a chance to be outside, get some sun. Tomorrow still shows another 65 to 70 degree day on Friday. But things go down pretty quick. But this isn't really that bad for October. I mean, gosh, it could be a lot cooler than this. So even for Saturday, it's going to be kind of fresh, 55 to 60 on the SRF. I'd probably guess close to 60 or so, and then not even really that cold on Saturday night, and another nice day on Sunday. So
you use these enough to know about the cold bias, about 2 degrees.
Yeah, there's a little cold bias on this stuff, so I had a couple of degrees, but still not too bad. Looking at our Jeffs, again, they're showing about the same, really a tenth of an inch or so. We saw that on the probabilities that Rich showed, and on Rich's page, and again, pretty low QPF event tomorrow. Enough to wet things, but not enough to cause any issues hydrologically. Then we go through a dry period, and then I didn't show this on the Jeffs, but there's another system that we'll be watching around the 13th or 14th that has, and even the wettest model has maybe a tenth, has only a quarter inch maybe with it. So another very benign frontal boundary of some sort on the 13th, and then maybe something 16th or 17th. So pretty quiet pattern. I mean, this is, except for a couple days of really heavy rain that we've had over the last 2 months, pretty quiet. And looking at our temperature profiles, like I said, 70-ish today, cooler and warming up again. A lot of temperatures in the 60s, so above average temperatures for this time of year. And nights still, here's the 32 line. Still don't see any Jeffs members. Maybe until the 16th. We're still waiting for that freeze. Even the outlying areas really haven't been that cold this fall. So let me see. Did I miss anything? Or I think I've covered most of what I came to talk about. I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
What's the average data first week?
Ooh, I don't know. Boy, do we have that on our web? We probably have it on our webpage somewhere.
I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, it's a good question. I should have.
We're past on these.
We should be past that.
Yeah, we should be close now. What is it?
It's just mid-October.
Yeah.
33 hours.
Right outside. Outside the area.
Yeah, I don't know. Did we put that on here somewhere or not? I thought we had like a freeze map.
32. Our freeze is below 28, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what the
We use
definition of it is? 3 hours of
We use a
28?
3-hour window, yeah.
I didn't know.
What do we have? We have a Climo pager. I can tell how often I'm going to our webpage these days. Sorry. Climate prediction.
Oh,
That's not
mine's over on
good.
the right.
It's on the something, go down, below State College. Go down 4 inches.
Ah, right here somewhere. Climate. There you go. Is there anything here that might get us there?
I'd be hurry for a little bit.
That's okay. It's a good question. As soon as I get back, I'll probably find it. But let's just suffice it to say we're probably late this year. Seems like everything's late. Our trees are pretty green for this time of year. So let's just hope we don't get a snow in a week or two. And that would be devastating. It can snow anytime from here on out. So it's.
That's my next question. Since it's been so warm and since the Great Lakes are still so warm, are you guys worried about it enhanced lake effect season because of that?
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it yet, but obviously meteorologically, you would think with the warm lakes and they're not in such a warm spring or a fall, if we get an anomalous cold air mass, which obviously we don't see out there right now, but things can change quick. Certainly, it could become another issue. Probably November, December. But yeah, it'd be nice to get the leaves down sooner than later because early snows are never good. No sign of that right now. So anything else? Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Just talking more about the return intervals once the young period of record is 100 years.
Okay.
Are you putting a distribution together? Are you looking at neighboring stations around the area? How do you talk about housing here?
That's the hydrometeorological design. Was it Monument Design Center, and they make the NOAA 14 Atlas. And there's I don't remember the exact description of how they compute that, but there's a really good link on there that talks about. I can find the link and email it to you. And there's two camps about putting the information out for, like, say, beyond 200 years. And you got to use it with a big caveat once you get beyond 100 years. So, we just don't have the records to know. I mean, they're saying that South Carolina could be 1,000-year event, but again, we don't have nearly the amount of observed data to say that with scientific certainty. But we, based on how they compute the data, that's what the numbers come out with. When you extend it's done with statistics and statistical analysis, so they can go out that far to get a number. Whether or not it's actually any good or not is another question. So we like to look at it. I know, Richard, I like to see what the number is, just because it gives me more context. And we're like way out on a limb as far as what the rainfall what the NOAA 14 Atlas data is showing us. So that should tell you something too, even if it's not necessarily truly 1,000. You're out on the many standard deviations above your mean. So yeah.
Google is a wonderful thing.
Okay.
The first fall freeze, October 11th for Southern County, and October 1st for Northern Central.
All right, so we're about to be running late. Yeah. Thank you.
It is, in fact, on the National Weather Service.
Yeah, I know. I can get that in my office in a second, but
You don't need to remind, you can say, all the things I've lost in life, I miss my mom.
Yeah, I'm right there. Yeah. So, all right. What? Any other questions or anything going your way?
Last question. All right, thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Joe Murray.
All right. My old floor mate.